In Series 3, I mean Regulation C, because yeah, that was definitely a better name to call the VGC formats. 4 new Pokemon will be added to the rule set that might ruin the game forever, or at least change how we play the game. Wo-Chien, Chien-Pao, Chi-Yu, and Ting-Lu. What makes these Pokemon game changing? Their abilities are absolutely absurd. The Ruin abilities have field effects that affect the stats on all other active Pokemon on the field, including your ally, as long as the holder remains on the field. Wo-Chien has the ability to reduce the physical attack stats of all other Pokemon on the field. The only exception is that the same species of Ruin Pokemon are immune to these stat drops. For instance, if there are 2 Wo-Chiens on the field with one on your side and one on the other, they will be immune to having their attack drop due to having the same ability. But if you have a Wo-Chien and are facing a Chien-Pao, they will still have their physical attack dropped, but you will still have your physical defense dropped as well. Let's go over the Ruin Pokemon. First up, we have a Wo-Chien, a dark grass type with really high special defense, decent HP, and high physical defense. However, its drawback is it doesn't have the best offensive capabilities. The ability that it has is Tablets of Ruin, which lowers the physical attack stats of all Pokemon on the field other than itself by 25%. Wo-Chien isn't exactly known for being the best at the beginning because it was the least used Ruin Pokemon, but still pretty solid. Dark Grass type is not amazing defensively, 4 times weak to Bug, a lot of common weaknesses. However, with Terastallization, it really helps fix that, and this Pokemon is not as bad as people first had the initial impression of. First off, it does have recovery in Leech Seed that allows you to stall away at your opponents while being able to heal yourself, which is really nice. Pollen Puff allows you to heal your ally by 50%, and it's also a damaging move, which is pretty nice. Substitute's pretty much paired with Leech Seed because it allows you to ignore, for instance, Glamora getting Toxic, getting Mortal Spin, getting Will-O-Wisp, and it's really nice to help a Wo-Chien stay on the field. Giga Drain is a move that we've seen to just heal back some HP and hit like Iron Bundle, for instance. Knock Off just to be able to remove any items, especially like any leftovers, which is really nice. And Ruination, which is a signature move to the Ruin Pokemon, which is very similar to the Tapus in Generation 7. It reduces the target's health by 50% of its current HP. So it's basically a Super Fang or Nature's Madness. The common Terra types we see for Wo-Chien involve Poison, which is really nice to make it immune to poison, but also helps get rid of the toxic spikes from Glamora, for instance, and really does complement Wo-Chien's typing. A Steel, which is a great defensive type, Water, and Fairy. The common items that we normally see are usually leftovers to help it stick around longer, or healing berries like Citrus. The next Ruin Pokemon is Chien-Pao, a dark ice type with really high speed and physical attack with low bulk. Think Weavile, but even more incredible. Its ability is the Sword of Ruins that lowers the physical defense stats of all Pokemon on the field other than itself by 25%. It gets really great ice coverage in Ice Spinner and Icicle Crash, and it's really nice having the 100% accurate Ice Spinner, especially because it's able to remove terrain, which is really nice on Chien-Pao because a lot of its allies like Priority take advantage of the physical defense lowering. For instance, like Palafin and the Dragonite with extreme speed. So having Ice Spinner to get rid of things like Psychic Terrain is very much appreciated. Throat Chop and Crunch are its great dark type coverages, and with dark coverage, having a fighting move is absolutely incredible, even if it doesn't take advantage of its ability in Sacred Sword. And then finally, it gets some decent support moves with Swords Dance, making it even more absolute threat potentially. It gets Taunt as well, that a fast Taunt is really nice against stuff like Rage Powder, go for Trick Room, or any Disruption or Tailwind, and Icy Wind for a very nice speed advantage with Dynamic Speed because Chien-Pao is again really fast, and of course it does get access to Sucker Punch in Priority. The common Terra types we commonly see usually involve Dark because it allows a really more powerful Sucker Punch, which is absolutely incredible, and Ghost to be immune to Fake Out, for instance, or Extreme Speed from Dragonite. The common items that we normally see, it's usually Focus Sash most of the time, but sometimes we'll see a Life Orb or a Choice Band as well. Chi-Yu is up next, a dark and fire type with high special attack and special defense, low base HP, and mediocre defense with a decent speed stat. Beads of Ruin, which lowers the special attack stats of all Pokemon on the field other than itself by 25%. Chi-Yu doesn't get the greatest move pool, but it gets what it really wants. It gets good fire coverage in Heat Wave, Flamethrower, and Overheat, which is really strong with its ability and its high special attack stat. Dark Pulse is really the only dark type move you really need on this thing. Taunt, Willis, and Snarl are really great disruptors for Shiyu, and it has decent bulk so it can take advantage of it. Terra Blast is usually used offensively because Shiyu has the most varying Terra types out of this entire list of Ruin Pokemon, and it can be used offensively because it doesn't have the best coverage otherwise. And then Nasty Plot makes this thing a really big threat that can be used to sweep games. The Terra types vary a lot on Shiyu, especially taking advantage of Terra Blast on its offensive coverage, so it gets a lot of access. We've seen Water so far, Grass to avoid Amoonguss, but really you can just KO Amoonguss with a fire move, but it's still really nice for Terra Blast as well. You have Ghost as well to be immune to Fake Out, as well as Extreme Speed like we've seen before. Fire and Dark because it runs same type, because it hits even stronger with a Terra type fire move or Dark Pulse. It's really hard to switch into. Its common items usually involve choice items like Choice Specs or Choice Scarf that we commonly see. Idigo is for a more defensive set, and we've even seen Leftovers or a Life Orb. Again, this Pokemon can be run either offensively or as a support set. Finally, the last Ruin Pokemon is Ting-Lu, a dark ground type with absurdly high base HP, with solid attack and great defense, but mediocre defense, and is very slow. Its ability is the Vessel of Ruins that lowers the special defense stats of all Pokemon on the field other than itself by 25%. It gets some decent coverage options, however its move pool is definitely lacking compared to the rest of the Ruin Pokemon, mainly because it has a better move pool in singles because it has access to Stealth Rocks and Spikes, which isn't really commonly used in VGC. Body Press is a really nice strong move that can take advantage of its high physical defense. You have Throat Chop as well, which is its dark type coverage. Ruination, because this thing is extremely bulky and be able to do like 50%, is really nice to other Pokemon to help take advantage of it. Heavy Slam to hit Flutter Mane. We have Snarl and Rock Tomb as disruptive support options, and then for its ground coverage, we don't commonly see Earthquake. We usually see Stomping Tantrum paired with Fissure. Now you might be wondering, Fissure, it is really strong, and of course being able to get an Oko is really nice, but another benefit of Fissure that we've seen being paired with Stomping Tantrum is because if you do miss a Fissure, your Stomping Tantrum's base power is then doubled, so you then have a 150 base power Stomping Tantrum. So if you hit the Fissure, of course it's an amazing spot, but if you miss, you still have a decent benefit with the Stomping Tantrum. Its Terra types that we commonly see are usually defensive. Most of them have been Poison, Steel, Grass, or Water as defensive Terra types. And then the items, mainly we've seen Assault Vest, because with an Assault Vest, this Pokemon is extremely hard to knock out. Its high base HP, its ability combined with its already amazing physical defense, and you have Intimidate as well that can patch up with this. It makes this thing absurdly hard to knock out. And then sometimes, otherwise, if the Assault Vest is taken, we've seen Leftovers and Healing Berries like Citrus. So what changes will these Pokemon bring to the metagame? As the ladder has already been out for Regulation C, we've seen quite a bit of trends that have happened. So far, what we've noticed is that Entity and Armarouge Size Spam, also known as the duo is called, is very down in usage. The main reason is all of these Pokemon are dark types, and it makes it extremely hard for Entity and Armarouge to actually do anything. Even though Entity can prevent the priority moves with Chien-Pao, you do have very strong dark coverage that could just knock out the Entity in one hit, as well as Ice Spam to get rid of the terrain. Shiyu is really threatening to both of these combinations, and even the others can still be really annoying, especially Ting-Lu. While if you run a defensive Terra type on the Wo-Chien that's just basically neutral, it's still not easy for Entity Armarouge to handle. Following is an increase in priority moves as well, thanks to Chien-Pao, and we've also seen an increase in Terra Ghost to respond, because you have a lot of priority moves that we've seen increase thanks to Chien-Pao, like Dragonite and Palafin. Another trend is that fast offensive teams with Shiyu, Iron Bundle, and Flutter Mane, or Shiyu on Sun now exist, making speed potentially even more important than ever. Another thing is that we've seen a lot of Pokemon, of course, do really well into dark types, become more popular because the Ruin Pokemon have been basically the new trend that we've seen. Of course, we're going to see the counters to it, and we've seen things like Annihilate, Flutter Mane, and Tyranitar pick up in usage. And finally, we've seen more of a meta trend, but it also has just worked out with the Ruin Pokemon as well. Defensive teams utilizing Perish Song or Mortal Spin Glamora Stall has been very common, especially with the defensive Ruin Pokemon like Wo-Chien and Ting-Lu. As a final note, these are some opinions that I'm pretty interested to see how it will develop in Regulation C, but there are definitely some concerns that I would like to see how it will evolve as the metagame progresses. Dundozo usage was pretty down already in Series 2. This was mainly due to Pace Palafin, as well as the Paradox Pokemon be a bit annoying for Dundozo to handle. Its usage was already going down, but I wonder if it will increase stay the same or even decrease even further, mainly because Chien-Pao does do a lot, especially to common terror types. For instance, Sacred Sword can hit it for very much damage and ignore the defense boost on the Dondozo, which is really nice, and hit their Steel, as well as hits Terra Grass with just ice coverage, which has been more of the popular Dondozo recently towards the end of Series 2. You have Wo-Chien, which basically kind of walls it. It's really hard for Dondozo to actually do some damage while Wo-Chien has been on the field, especially Wave Crash, Earthquake sets have been, and Terra Blast, Terra Grass has been very common, and Wo-Chien does wall it. However, it's a little bit hard for Wo-Chien to actually deal damage, but it does make it so Dondozo has a very much harder time to actually sweep games, and Pollen Pup does add up over time, especially with Ruination if you have it, and Shiyu just does a lot of damage to Dondozo, especially with like a Dark Pulse, for instance. Another thing that I'm really interested to see is Golden Go usage, because these are dark types that have been introduced with very much powerful attacks in Shiyu and Chien-Pao, which makes it harder to set up nasty plots safely. And Ting-Lu kind of walls Golden Go, and you need quite a few nasty plots. However, the Ting-Lu can definitely still threaten the Golden Go, especially with the Stomping Tantrum or even Fissure. If you're trying to redirect the Fissures away from Golden Go, it can still be very scary potentially. And finally, will we see an increase in priority blockers, including Farajiraf, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that Pokemon, in the Armor Tail ability, and we might even see Quick Guard, for instance, from things like Talonflame, and maybe we'll see an increase in Indeedee again. However, I'd say it's pretty tough for Indeedee to be used again because of Ice Spinner and the threat of Shiyu and Chien-Pao onto that might force a Terra or just running a Cobra Berry. But those are my takes on the Ruined Pokemon and what will they bring to VGC in Series Regulation 3. And I didn't even get to talk about what is going to be happening when we get all the DLC, for instance, when we get Pokemon Home increases again, because oh boy, when Pokemon Home comes back and we have even more threats, for instance like Regieleki, and then we have like restricted format, these Pokemon are going to be absolutely absurd in those. But that's a topic for another video. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let us know what you want to see more on the Beastcoast Pokemon channel, and of course subscribe to our channel if you do want more action. But that is going to be it for us, and have a great one.